And welcome into the MLB Hot Stove Daily here at the Upside Sports Network. Tonight we have a little bit of actual news for you. The Washington Nationals have brought in Josh Bell on a one-year, $6 million deal, and we have a trade between the Cubs and Marlins. That and more ahead. And welcome in, everybody. Let's start the show with the news that it's already happened. The trade between the Cubs and Marlins sends a utility infielder to the Cubs in exchange for former top prospect Matt Mervis of the Chicago Cubs. Heads back to the Miami Marlins in that deal. Kind of a lower end swap between the two clubs, but I think it will prove useful during the 162-game season. We'll see how they ultimately impact the teams. The bigger deal, of course, is Josh Bell, who just agreed to a one-year, $6 million contract with the Washington Nationals. Now remember, they just made the trade to bring in Nathaniel Lowe, and he's going to be their first baseman. Bell is going to serve primarily as their DH. Maybe they can recoup some value for him at the deadline if he's able to get that bat on the right track, but this could be the last stop for Josh Bell if he's unable to do so. All right, so the bigger issue I want to get to is what's next. What can we look forward to that's going to happen this upcoming week in MLB? We got New Year's coming up this week. There's going to be some activity in regards to Bregman. I'd imagine we get some movement on the relief market at some point. It's got to start happening. Kirby Yates has certainly got enough momentum around him by himself to at least agree to a deal, I'd imagine, this week. And then we could get some headlines from Tanner Scott and so forth down the line. We also got some updates as far as some of the trade talks that have been happening over the last couple of days. Those have all happened today. Let's get into some of those. We'll start with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They bring in Corbin Burnes, 6 years, $210 million. The logic says that they're going to look to offload some starting pitchers. Everyone immediately points to Jordan Montgomery as the guy they would like to get rid of. Well, obviously, every other team knows that as well. They're not going to give up a whole lot in return for him, especially when he's making such a huge salary. Even if the Diamondbacks were to eat, say, half of that contract, I still don't expect that premium to be, or the return to be a premium at all. The one thing I think is something we're overlooking with the impending free agency anyway of a few of their starting pitchers, namely Zach Gallen and Merritt Kelly, in addition to Montgomery, is that they could turn around and flip one of those guys, just like the Houston Astros might do with Framber Valdez if they can't get a long-term extension done. we'll see what option they ultimately choose to go with, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing some names out of Arizona, like Gallen and Kelly, as far as trade candidates before we get to spring training. Now, once we get to spring training, I think all bets are off. I don't think there's any type or any way they would move from those guys. They've really done a nice job building up this portion of the team. However, if they wanted to bring in somebody, a longer-term controlled starting pitcher, whether it be a bat for their infield, whatever they want to do, that is not out of the realm of possibility anyway when you look at the Arizona Diamondbacks. Do I think it's highly likely? No. I still think Montgomery's the one that's going to be traded, and I think they're going to try to push their chips to the center for 2025. You see that with the acquisition of Josh Naylor, who has 1 year left on his deal. I don't see the logic in the way some pundits are putting it that Kelly and Gallen could both be on the market before the season begins because they made the acquisition of Josh Naylor with a similar contract situation. So while it's a possibility, I would take it with a big grain of salt once you start hearing those names out there, but it's not completely, dismiss it because there is the chance that they might get an offer that they like for those guys. Welcome in, Cowboys Nation. Holly D-Rod Heel, appreciate you joining us once again. Let's see here. Heel, I think there are still a lot of big names on the board that can help a team win a World Series. I mean, there are a lot of free agents that are still left. There's like 75% of the free agents that entered this offseason still available to be signed. We're halfway into the offseason. We're a month and a half away from pitchers and catchers reporting. And, teams are going to have to make some decisions now what they want to do. Now, not all of those guys are going to sign. Some of those guys will be non-roster invitees, and some of those guys ultimately will not be offered another contract in Major League Baseball. So, there's still some good pieces out there, aside from just the top names that we keep mentioning, the Bregmans, the Alonsos, the Santanders, the Heaney's, the Pavettas. There are a bunch of players in that Randall Grichuk, Jose Iglesias category, the Jerks and Profars of the world, the Elias Diaz's, several bullpen arms that are available, aside from just the top-end closers as well. Cowboys Nation, I don't want to see my O's grab Cease and waste another 1 year rental who has been as inconsistent as Luis. What do you think it would take for us to get King from the Padres versus Cease? Honestly, it might cost you a little bit less. The only reason I say that is because I think the market value Cease a little bit higher. The only downside of that is, even though you might not have to part with as much to bring him in, I think that makes him even more likely that he signs an extension there with the San Diego Padres. I just don't think they're going to trade Cease or trade King. I think they'd look to trade Dylan Cease and maximize the return that they could possibly get. Roy, welcome in. Where are we in the draft? I think you're around 7 or 8, somewhere 7, 8, somewhere in there. 7, 8, 10, somewhere in there for the Dallas Cowboys. Anthony, welcome in. Appreciate you. Owen, welcome back. Demon D, Saint Vintage. Appreciate you guys joining us once again. Let's see here. Anthony, with how deep their infield is, do you think Arizona might have to trade Jordan Lawler to get help in their bullpen or their starting rotation if they trade Jordan Montgomery? They're not looking for help in their starting rotation. In fact, they may trade away some pieces if they decide to go with a 5-man unit. They may ultimately go with a 6-man unit based on how many starting pitchers they have. Again, not a problem that you're necessarily worried about having. You would rather have that sort itself out in spring training. But to your other point about Jordan Lawler, I don't think there's any way they trade him at this point. I think they're going to go a little bit younger with their position player group over the next 3 or 4 years. And I think Jordan Lawler's the best of the infield bunch that they have. They have several outfielders, but he's their best infielder that they have left, and I don't see them moving him. Oh, and hey, I'm just tuning in. Anything going on today? 2 different moves. Vidal Brujan goes from the Marlins to the Cubs in exchange for Mark Mervis. Not necessarily a back of the bench type of a trade, but something that could be a utility player for the Cubs and someone who might get more everyday at bats with the Marlins. He was once thought of as a good first base prospect there with the Cubs and ultimately never lived up to that. And now finds his new home with Miami and see if he can find some momentum there. The other bit of news anyway is Josh Bell, just before we came on the air, 1 year, $6 million to the Washington Nationals. Demon D, you do the best breakdown on MLB news. Keep up the great news. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Try to keep you guys as updated as I possibly can with not a lot of happening over the Christmas break and even on into today, really. We kind of had to dig deep and find all the stories that are out there for you guys. But like I said, we're going to bring every single bit of news that we can to you guys, but we're not going to bring you false information. That is for sure. We did get the best free agent starting pitcher off the board late Friday evening, or Saturday morning. That was kind of the one big acquisition we've seen so far since the Christmas holiday. And I'd imagine once we get into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this upcoming week, we're going to see Bregman come off the board fairly quickly. Yates, I think both of those guys are signed by the end of the week this upcoming week. Cowboys Nation, man, I don't know what the team would be willing to eat on Jordan's contract with his outings lately. I feel like they're stuck unless they eat 2/3 of that contract, possibly. But like I said, I think if you're willing to eat half of that money, which I think the Diamondbacks probably would, they could at least get a decent prospect back, maybe a borderline top 30 guy. DeYoung is still out there. Kim also, both Kims. Heel, excuse me. Who's the most underrated free agent on the board in your opinion? Well, let's take a look. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you guys. Let me scroll up. Sorry, I was scrolling way down here to try to keep up on all the rumors for you guys. They had an updated list they had just posted. I think this is their updated one now. Okay. So, an under the radar free agent on the catcher side, I'd probably say Elias Diaz. But at this point in free agency, I'm looking more to pitching, specifically to relief pitching as well. So there's some good starters out there, some guys that can give you some innings, some older starters that could give you 1-year option kind of type of contracts out there. But as far as relievers, that's where I think you might be able to get a real gem. For instance, Finnegan is still out there, 33 years old. Didn't have his greatest year last year, but has a track record of success. Floro has a good track record of success. Not going to cost you a whole bunch to bring him in. Jeff Hoffman was an all-star last year. He's still out there on the open market. But an underrated guy, Jose Leclerc draws my eye a little bit just because he has closing potential. Lefty relievers, Chafin, excuse me. Brooks Raley catches my eye. Will Smith. So I guess if you're limiting me to one, I would probably go Jose Leclerc because he can be your 7th inning guy, he can be your 8th inning guy, and in a tough situation, he can be your closer. But that's asking a lot to have him step into a World Series competing team to do that. Now, if you're a rebuilding club, by all means, put him as your closer and see if he catches fire once again. But if you're counting on him to be the shutdown closer, from start to finish of the season and through to a World Series, I think that's asking a little much. I think he's best put into a bullpen as a 7th inning guy with the upside of playing him in that 8th or 9th inning role if you have injuries or poor performance there as well. But I think probably a 2-year deal probably gets it done with Jose Leclerc. He has the famous Slambio pitch, and he'd be the guy I would be looking at. At this point in free agency, I'm just looking for best ways to improve my roster. What would be the single most important way, or single biggest benefit aside from some of these bigger names out there that could improve my roster? I would go with Jose Leclerc there. You bring up a good one there, Heel, in Tommy Pham. I really like him as a good veteran presence in the clubhouse as well. I think he'd be a good get for anybody out there. Let's see here. Jose Manuel, appreciate you joining us. You do the best good jobs. Thank you, my guy. Appreciate that. Cowboys Nation Heel, I say Charlie Morton. Yes, but it sounds like he would like to go back to Atlanta, but Atlanta doesn't seem keen on bringing him back at this point. Sounds like he wants to retire after this year. There are a couple of guys that kind of fit that description. It sounds like Chris Martin wants to come back to Texas anyway and kind of finish his career one last season in Texas, play close to home. Same thing with Charlie Morton with the Braves. We'll see if both of those guys get their wish. AL would be a good change of scenery for him, maybe, possibly, but he's looking to wrap things up there. If he doesn't sign with Atlanta, maybe he goes to a team like the Rays or some other team that's close by to the Atlanta Braves, but I don't see him going, too far away from his home. If he has to hang it up, he has to hang it up. And for me, it's Anthony Santander. That's not really an underrated one to me. I do still like Santander on this market. I think he's going to get overpaid on this market after Bregman comes off the board. So we'll see, what happens. Anthony, Michael, why do you see a lot of MLB hitters and pitchers go to other Japan, South Korea? Why not go and play professionally in the Dominican or Venezuela or Mexico? I think it's primarily because they have a better quote-unquote league, or at least it's thought of as a better league. I think the Dominican has some really good talent. Yes, same thing in Venezuela and Mexico, but there's a pipeline of successful pieces coming from Japan, coming from South Korea, reestablishing themselves in the major leagues. You don't have that same track record when you're looking at Dominican Republic, Venezuela, or Mexico. Thank you, Holly. I appreciate that. You do the best. You're the best. You do a great job. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Got a whole bunch of people in this chat already, and we're only 16 minutes in. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe, we're only 11 away from hitting our goal. So if you are new here, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. John, welcome back. Are the Yankees going to make a big move? I sure do hope so. I just don't think it's necessarily in the cards at this point. I still think they're going to add a third baseman, whether they go cheap, really cheap at that spot, or they go a little bit higher in Arenado, or if they go to the top of the market in Bregman, I seriously doubt. But I think they're going to get somebody in there at third base. I still think they're going to add another relief option in that eighth inning role, so we'll see who they ultimately bring in for that job. Tanner Scott is one name that consistently have been targeted, or they've been connected to even up until today. Joseph, welcome in. Appreciate you joining us. I think it's the first time I've seen you in the chat. Appreciate you. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. God bless. Great content. Love the channel. Keep up the great work. Happy New Year. Yes, Happy New Year to you as well. Mike, welcome in. Otani and Yamamoto were very involved in the meeting with Sasaki at the meeting he had with the Dodgers. Not surprising. Those were two of his World Baseball Classic teammates. Gotta imagine those are two of the biggest draws for him going to the Dodgers, in addition to them being a World Series contending team, in addition to them being able to offer the similar finances that everybody else can, in addition to it being a West Coast team, in addition to having a spot in the rotation where he doesn't have all the pressure on him immediately. There's four other starters in that rotation that they're going to have, and it sounds like they're going to bring back Clayton Kershaw as well at some point, but they're going to do so pretty much really close to spring training when they can immediately sign him to the roster anyway, and then transfer him to the 60-day IL pretty much instantly so that they can keep a roster spot open. Let's see here. Underrated trade piece from a non-contending team that would make a huge impact in a bullpen or starting rotation for a contending team. Ryan Helsley, probably the biggest one out there in my mind. I think he'd be a great closer for the teams that miss on Scott, that missed on Williams, that are going to miss on Kirby Yates. I think he's probably the single biggest impact as far as a reliever. Starting pitcher, once we get to the trade deadline, I think we could see some guys like Pablo Lopez or Sandy Alcantara really really turn around a race for the wild card or a division race, or even make a team go from a division champion thought of as a also ran in the playoffs or in the postseason to a World Series contending team. That's how big of an effect those two guys could really have. Cowboys Nation, KBO, and the Japanese leagues are a great watch. I enjoyed watching guys like Albert Suarez, etc., go there and make solid turnarounds. There's been quite a few of them. One of my favorites, anyway, as a Texas Rangers fan, was Colby Lewis. But there's several successful stories that come over there from Japan and from the KBO. And you think of Nick Martinez in the major leagues currently. He really came back and put his foot down in Major League Baseball and finally got a qualifying offer. He's really turned his career around since going overseas to get that correction. Mike, also don't forget that the Dodgers could have Yamamoto and Sasaki pitch on March 18th and 19th this upcoming season in Japan. That would be something. That would certainly be something. Otani isn't going to be able to pitch yet. Still recovering from an injury. Caleb, welcome back. Braves are interested in Tanner Scott and Jack Flaherty. I have heard Jack Flaherty in connection with the Braves a few times now. He kind of fits that salary point of what they were looking at to bring in Nathan Eovaldi, so that doesn't overly surprise me. It does surprise me that they would be connected to Tanner Scott. They seem to be looking to go a little bit cheaper in that bullpen. That coming from Mark Bowman, a Braves beat reporter for MLB.com. I think if they're going to spend the money, they're going to do so in the starting rotation and for a corner outfielder. I think if they're going to make a bullpen addition, it's going to be on the cheap. The $1 to $3 million deals. Guys that you're seeing on the screen here, like a Jose Leclerc might fit that category. A guy that has a lot of track record in successful postseasons would be Phil Maton. Maybe they go there. Hector Neris, excuse me. Trying to think of other guys that would qualify in that $1 to $3 million range. Maybe you get lucky and you convince Kyle Finnegan to take a little bit smaller of a number as well. But those would be kind of the guys I would see the Braves targeting for their bullpen rather than going top of the market for a Tanner Scott. That's what he said. Interesting name there. Appreciate you joining us. Do you think the Dodgers will trade for Arenado? Well, I guess the reason why you're asking this question is because they continue to say no on Teoscar Hernandez. No, we're not bringing him back. No, we don't have the money. No, we don't want to do this. No, 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 no. And then they turn around and sign him, 3 for $66, and ultimately get him for what the contract or what he was ultimately asking for after his price started to fall. Maybe they do something similar here with Arenado, continue to say no, and then when he turns out to be, or when the Dodgers continue to turn out to be one of the only teams that would be a fit for a trade, they say, all right, we'll get it done. And then they get the Cardinals to eat so much of that deal. They don't have to give a whole lot of prospects in the deal to begin with because nobody else was really going to offer up what they needed to in return. They just want to offload him off of that roster and free up some at-bats for some of their younger guys and save as much money as they can and get whatever prospects are that they're able to finagle out of that deal. That, I guess, would be the argument there for the Dodgers getting him. The bigger question is, do I think they will trade for him? I would say no, not at this time. Cowboys Nation has read an article from Sasaki agent that said he's not bothered about going to a big market or the West Coast, but it's a lawyer, so yeah, exactly. I think the media attention that he had over there in Japan, or overseas anyway, was bothersome to him. Is it enough to keep him from signing somewhere that is a big market? No. But it will be a factor when he's thinking about where he wants to sign, just like the environment that he's going to be pitching in, who his pitching coach is, who the manager is, and a million other factors that are going to go into his decision. Anthony, Michael, would you compare deferrals in baseball similar to what you see with the nuclear option in the NFL contract, where a team can just basically backload the contract and still pay the player? Yes and no. Baseball's deferrals are still guarantees, whereas NFL's deferrals, like at the back end of the deal where they try to make it a really big number, has nothing to do with the guarantee. So that's kind of the difference there. Major League Baseball still has that guarantee. They will get that money. There's no guarantee that the NFL player will get that non-guaranteed salary. Paige, welcome back. D-backs could trade Gallen or Montgomery with 1 year left. That's kind of what we led off our live here with tonight, is that they could move not just Jordan Montgomery, but Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly, because did I say Merrill Kelly? What is the pitcher's name? Is it Merrill Kelly? I can't remember his first name. Anyway, Kelly's the other starting pitcher that's got 1 year left on his deal. They could trade any one of those guys and recoup some value. I think if they get to spring training without moving one of those two, then they're going to stick with that roster as best as they can. Finagle this thing to spring training and get things to opening day, and then see where they stand with their rotation. Montgomery, I think, could be on the outs at any point. Right now, I don't think they would like to even report to spring training with him on that roster. Alrighty, Mike, the Dodgers are looking to bring Tanner Scott and to trade for Luis Robert Jr. I haven't heard too much on Luis Robert, but Scott I've heard quite a bit with the Dodgers. I think they're still the favorite to bring him in as far as a bullpen option. Yes, Merrill, thank you. Appreciate that. I just couldn't think of his name. I kept thinking of the, what is it, Jackson Merrill, the outfielder for the Padres, that I kept thinking of in the middle of that one, but appreciate you. Let's see here. As far as the Tanner Scott, though, I think the Dodgers are the favorite there. Got a little bit of a Dodgers update for you guys here in a little bit as well. But as far as Luis Robert, I don't think they're going to go that route. Liberty, wow, nothing on my Angels. Not as of yet. They were in there for Gleyber Torres. I'd imagine they're going to settle for a Yohan Moncada or somebody of that ilk to kind of fill the hole there. Tig, welcome in. Appreciate you joining us. Got quite a few people with us right now. We're very close to hitting our goal. We were only 11 subscribers away when we started a live from hitting our goal. So let's see if we can get there during this live today. So if you wouldn't mind, hit that like and subscribe and join us here at The Upside. This is the only place where you're going to get this kind of coverage of Major League Baseball. Not sure the D-backs would trade Gallen after getting Burns and Naylor. Montgomery is a nice piece for the Tigers if the D-backs eat some money. I think he'd be a good fit for a lot of teams out there. Tigers, I mentioned the Cubs in the previous live, the Rangers, the Yankees, pretty much any team that could use a number 5 starter. Even the Atlanta Braves would be another team that could be a fit there. I do agree, though, that it's unlikely that they would move Kelly or Gallen, but I'm just saying if they get an overwhelming offer, the Houston Astros are in a similar position with Framber Valdez. If they don't get an extension done and they can get legitimate offers back in return, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them try to, maximize the assets that they do have. St. Vintage, do the D-backs need Marte? Mets could use another arm. No, D-backs have plenty of outfielders right now. They do not need to bring in Starling Marte. Terry, welcome back. Yankees need Donovan. He'd be a nice piece for them. Yes, Kelly, thank you. Cowboys, Scott is going to be a Met. Maybe they are looking at the bullpen, but you do have Steve Cohen's money. I guess anything is possible. I still think the two teams that are most likely for Scott, though, are the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Mets. Let's see here. Did you mean Zach Gallen? He has 1 year left before free agency. Yes. Is Presley washed up? No. He was just put in a unfortunate situation of being an eighth inning guy when he had been their closer his entire successful run there with the Houston Astros. They bring in Josh Hader. The first half of the season was very choppy. Second half they figured it out. Presley's going to be a dynamic bullpen piece wherever he goes. Astros are looking to use his money to bring in a corner outfield bat, and I think they will be successful in doing so. So to answer your question, is he washed up? No. Saint Vintage hit a home run like on the. Oh man, thank you, man. I like that one. Hit a home run on the like button. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just like Vintage says there, hit that like button. It really does help us out here. Got about 70 of you guys with us. Wow, you guys really do enjoy your baseball content. Really do appreciate you guys joining us. Let's see here. Ethan, welcome back. Pham to Texas on a 1-year deal. I don't see that happening. He's not a center fielder at this point, and that's really, if they're going to bring in a fourth outfielder to replace Leody Taveras, they're going to have to bring in somebody who can handle center field defensively. Why did the Cubs acquire Vidal Brujan? Primarily for versatility. Getting off of a player who can only play first base, really, maybe DH and Matt Mervis, by getting a player they can flex all over the infield if Horner doesn't come back from injury as well as they had hoped, if they don't bring in another offensive piece and they have to put Brudon in there somewhere. But he's kind of a utility man for them, a Swiss Army knife for them. Think of him as the Tommy Edman for the Dodgers, except now for the Chicago Cubs is what they're getting here in Brujan. Obviously two very different players, though. Let's see here, or Josh Smith anyway for the Rangers, something like that. Sean, Josh Bell to the Nats. Yes, 1 year, $6 million. Welcome in, VPC ZX. Appreciate you joining us once again. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. Ethan, Kenley Jansen, 1 year, $10 million to Texas like they did with Robertson last year. I could see that being a fallback option. I think he'd probably be the third option, though, right now. I think their first choice would be to bring in Kirby Yates. The second choice might be the trade route in Ryan Helsley. If that doesn't work, then they're going to go with a guy like Jansen or Robertson as their ninth inning guy. Or maybe even Tanner Scott. Bruce, welcome in. Do you feel Alonso could go to the Phillies or Mets? Phillies, not a chance. Phillies don't have the financial flexibility to do it. Mets, absolutely. I still think they're the favorite. Giants have certainly entered the chat over the last week, and they seem keen on bringing him in. Is it the right decision long term? Probably not. That contract is going to look ugly in years 3, 4, 5. But he's going to be the best power bat that they've really had since Barry Bonds, and it completely turns the page from the Farhan Zaidi era, where they were unable to lure top free agents. Now they would have been able to bring in 2 of their choices this offseason, and really kind of opens the eyes of free agents when they go into negotiations with them next year. They can go to Vlad Jr. and say, hey, we have a building team. We're able to convince free agents to come here and join a winning culture and help us grow, and possibly beat the Dodgers. Or to Kyle Tucker, same kind of conversation there. Heel, Angels fans, I'm just going to say, even when you do get nice things, we all know it happens. Just saying, and that's the nice way of putting it. You're not entirely wrong there, Heel. I know there's going to be some Angels fans that are going to take exception to that, but I mean, they did have probably 2 of the top 3 players in the sport when Shohei Ohtani first came over, and they never really got their pitching figured out. They continued to try to spend on bats at certain points. The pitching moves that they tried to make failed colossally. They ended that tenure with Shohei Ohtani very poorly, and I just don't think they're going to get another chance, at least for a while here. Let's see here. Anthony, is there a possible reunion with Miami versus Zach Gallen to have him behind Sandy Alcantara? Zero chance of that. Zero chance, Anthony. Mike, D-backs should bring back Grichuk or J.D. Martinez. Grichuk was very good for them as the right-handed complement to Jock Peterson at the DH spot. He also played at the corner outfield spot pretty well last year. Really good against left-handed pitching. Not so much as far as right-handed pitching. Didn't really get many opportunities on that side of things. But if you're looking for somebody to help you out against lefties, Grichuk would be a good get for you. Ethan, so Kevin Pillar would be the first for Texas, not Pham. Makes sense? Yes, I would say Kevin Pillar would be a better option than Pham, but I would probably try to move on from Leody before I go after a fourth outfielder. Why did the Cubs acquire Vidal Brujan? Again, to get some utility infielder depth there, to give them some options with what they want to do. Mervis was kind of entrenched at one spot, and it's just position flexibility more than anything else. That's why they make the move there. Justin, appreciate you joining us. I think it's the first time I've seen you in our chat. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. Tell us where you're watching from. We got quite a diverse group here in our chat. And we'll keep you guys updated on what happens around Major League Baseball, not just during the hot stove season every single night, but during the regular season as well. So make sure you join us. Hit that like and subscribe. We're very close to hitting our goal, and would really, really be grateful if you would hit that subscribe button. Please and thank you. Bring back JD. He would be a good get for a bunch of different teams out there. He's a very good professional hitter. Thank you, Bruce. Cowboys. I also read before the Red Sox grabbed Crochet in the trade that they were in talks to acquire Jared Jones. There were conversations there, but they never really went anywhere. The Red Sox weren't really willing to give up enough as far as assets to satisfy the Pittsburgh Pirates. The offer essentially was Tristan Cassis for Jared Jones, basically straight up. Pirates understandably said no. Cowboys. Why would they want to move him? Why would the Pittsburgh Pirates want to move him? To add a bat. But ultimately, there was not anything that really materialized around that. Yodel, welcome back. Any Yank news? Not as of yet. They are looking at bullpen. That's pretty much the same headlines we've had for the last couple of days. Page, Giants trade for Gallen or Kelly. I don't think they'd do either one of those. I think it'd be tough to trade them within the division, especially with the team that's going to be competing with you for the same wild card spot. I would say the chances of a Giants acquisition of Gallen or Kelly are next to none. Jets, Ronnie, appreciate you joining us. Who do you think plays third base for the Yankees? And Happy New Year, brother. Happy New Year to you as well. Right now, I would probably lean towards Nolan Arenado if they can figure out the finances. If they're unable to, then I think they're going to go a little bit cheaper, possibly use some internal options or go the trade route and bring in a guy like Carlos Correa if they can get the money figured out on that one, or in free agency, low-cost options in Jose Iglesias. Trying to think of the other one that I thought of the other day. Trade was also Jose Miranda of the Twins as well. Any Blue Jays news? Not too much. Blue Jays have missed out on Corbin Burns. Looks like they're going to finish as an also ran for Bregman. They're going to have to pivot here, possibly the Anthony Santander, and we'll see if they want or if he wants to take their money. Otherwise, we're looking at a very slim team right now, a team that hasn't really made any major additions, that has turned itself very quickly into a very unsuccessful version of the San Francisco Giants when they were under Farhan Zaidi. Sorry to keep drawing this comparison, but it just reminds me so much of how they continue to go after top-flight free agents and fall flat on their face. And you got to understand why free agents are deciding not to sign with you. It's because of the instability from the top down in that organization. The team or the guys that are even negotiating the deal might not even be there by the end of the season this upcoming year. Your manager might not be there as well. Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, if things aren't going well, could be traded by the deadline. If not, they could sign elsewhere. Where's the stability if you're looking to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays? The stability would come from a paycheck, and there are teams out there that still, for these top-flight free agents, are going to get very similar contract offers from other teams. You're really going to have to blow them out of the water to get those guys. So until you show that you've got some stability in that organization, you're going to continue to struggle to bring in top-flight free agents. Holly, when do you think the Rangers get a closer? I'm thinking this week. I think Kirby Yates makes his decision early on this week, possibly even before New Year's. I think we get a resolution there. Then the Rangers, I think they've got a trade lined up with Ezekiel Duran. If they are unable to get Kirby Yates signed, I'm guessing it's going to be for Ryan Helsley. They've been connected with him a couple of different times so far this offseason. If they're unable to get that done, I think they would go then to the free agent market again and look at Kenley Jansen, Tanner Scott, David Robertson, and others. Mike, Giants are trying to add players and the Padres are trying to trade some. That tells you where those teams are financially. Dodgers still rule the West and the league. Hope to see the Mets again. Mets are better. I will say that. Their rotation isn't necessarily as good as the Phillies or the Dodgers, but I will say their lineup has certainly improved. I think they'll get more there. I think they'll still add more pieces there. Now, as far as the Giants, they're still trying to prove themselves to their own market and to the rest of the league as far as free agency. They're still an up-and-coming team, but they still are a long way away from contending in that division as far as I'm concerned. Padres aren't necessarily trying to trade away players. They're trying to get a solid return on their investment. They don't just want to lose those guys for nothing. So think of what they brought back in the Juan Soto trade. I think we could see something similar there in a Dylan Cease or Luis Arraez trade. Is the team going to be better in 25 for it? Probably not. But I think the long-term outlook for the Padres will be better overall. Welcome in, Nando. Appreciate you joining us once again. Roki and the Dodgers meeting was about what number he was wearing. I don't know if that's the case. I think that's still a little presumptuous. But he did have a meeting with the Dodgers. This makes, I believe, 6 teams he's now met with that have at least acknowledged it publicly. Taxes will kill you in Canada to some extent. They are a lot higher, I will say that. But you also get a lot more for your taxes there as well. I hope Roki goes anywhere except LA. Honestly, the Dodgers are still the favorite. So honestly, I don't care one way or the other. Of course, I'd love him to go to my Rangers, but for the good of baseball, I just want to see him in a major league uniform and see what he's really got. Does he have, ace level stuff, or does he falter when he comes over to the big leagues and, the moment be too big for him? We'll see what happens. Let's see here. Or the Yankees. In Jose Iglesias' Yankees contract, it's going to say no more sinking. Let's see here. Please, please, baseball gods, don't let that happen. I think Sasaki is going to go to the Dodgers. I think that's really where he's going to go. There's been some headlines about the Padres making some steam there. I don't think there's any truth to that rumor. I think all the other teams besides the Dodgers are kind of all in the same pot here, where, some teams like the Marlins and the Rockies are even further behind. But in general, the Dodgers are viewed as the prohibitive favorite, and while these other teams are certainly looking to bring him in and might make competitive offers, the Dodgers are still the favorite from the outside looking in, but we won't know anything official until January 15th through January 23rd. That's when he will make his official decision. Roki is coming to the Inner Harbor. Okay. Yates should go back to the Rangers. I think he'd be great in Texas. If I'm the Rangers, I'd be looking to backload that contract, save as much money as you can to preserve some financial flexibility for the trade deadline this year. Say you sign him for 2 years, $22 million. Say you give him $8 million the first year, and quite a bit more in the second year. Something like that would be what I would try to do if I was the Rangers. Let's see here. Ryan Helsley for Rangers. I would way rather that than Yates. Both would be cool. Can you go to the trade machine and whip up a trade for him? We can, actually. I think both are actually possible as well. I just would rather have Yates because he's proven to be a closer before this. He found his rhythm again with Texas. Do I think he's going to have as good as the year he just had? No, but I think he's found where he was or what made him successful last year, and I think he has a very good chance of replicating it. The issue I have with Ryan Helsley is the injuries and up and down performance, just like any other bullpen arm, but I have a little bit less security with him than I do with Kirby Yates, so I'd rather go for Kirby Yates. Plus, it's not going to cost me any prospects to bring him in. But you asked if we could go over to the trade machine and just see what we could pull up. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll pull up the Cardinals first. Pull up the Rangers. Pull up the majors. I think his value is around 12. There he is. You go over to the Rangers side of things. I'd imagine they're looking for minor league pieces or maybe a major league option at some point. Let's sort this here. I don't think they're going to give up some of these upper level pieces here, but say they include Dreiling, a closer outfielder, and then they give him a decent pitching prospect, say along the lines of Winston Santos. Something like that. Trade value, you're about one off. Then you go down here and you give him a lottery ticket guy, somebody in the 18, 17-year-old category. We'll do this one. Caden Scarborough. And there's your deal. What do you guys think of that? Rangers get a closer option, Ryan Helsley, and ultimately don't have to spend in free agency on Kirby Yates. They're still going to be looking for another option in the 8th inning. Now, if they do both, bring in Helsley and bring in Kirby Yates, that'd be a great 1-2 punch at the back end of their bullpen, and they still may add another piece, but they've done a great job of rebuilding that bullpen there in Texas. We'll see how it works out, but they've made, 5-6 additions to that bullpen already? We shall see. All right, Roki gives me Strasburg vibes, great talent, but made of glass. I'm not sure about that. I do think he will have some injuries in his future. That does worry me. I guess that's where you're getting the quote-unquote glass comparison. But Strasburg was in a category all unto himself as far as injuries. Nando, I like your dog in your picture. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Or wait, are you talking to Nando? Oh, in Cowboys Nation. Sorry. I thought you were talking about one of my profile pictures I had on one of my Twitter pages. Anyway, sorry about that. Let's see here. Anthony, Michael, off topic. What are your thoughts on the passing of Jimmy Carter? Sad for the nation, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on. Just very sad to see that. Kind of knew it was coming. Wasn't exactly a shocker when it happened, but still sad nonetheless. Strasburg was a beast. Not even a comparison, in your opinion. Strasburg was very good, but he was very injury prone. Ended his career with injury as well. Tough way to end a career. The comparison, Michael, I've always had for Roki is the Japanese starter that used to be with the Yankees in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Matsuzaka? Or not, is it Daisuke Matsuzaka? I don't know if that's a complete or is a great comparison either, though. Hope, welcome in. Hope springs eternal. Sasaki is going to the Padres. His agent said he would prefer a small to medium market team. He said that the media affected him overseas, and while that would be a factor in his decision, he would not completely base his decision off of a media size or a market share. And so, while it's a factor, don't overstate your team's chances. I don't want to blow up any other team's chances any more than the Dodgers, because I think the Dodgers are by far the favorite to bring him in. I think the Padres are in that next group of teams and could still very well convince him, but just because of market size is not why he's going to go to San Diego. Cowboys think miniature bulldog. Okay. Good morning, Marseille, France. Wow. How was your 7-hour train ride, my friend? Hopefully it was a good one. Brady, welcome in. Hi, Michael. You probably don't remember me, but I haven't been on YouTube in a while. I got a really bad car accident. Well, I hope you're all right, my friend. I do remember the name. It's not clicking anything else, though, but I do remember the name. I do hope you're okay, though. Car accident's a tough thing to deal with. Hope, did you ever listen to Sasaki's agent's presser? If you did, you wouldn't be saying Dodgers are prohibitive favorites. I did. I actually, saw it, and I read all the articles that came out afterward when he was interviewed after the press conference about it. There was also some press in the international papers about it as well, and I caught up on quite a bit of that. I'm not going to say that the Dodgers are not the prohibitive favorites, though, because they are. I mean, he had a good experience at the World Baseball Classic with two of his teammates in Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto already there in the Dodgers uniform. All the pressure is going to be off of him in that starting rotation anyway. So as far as pressure goes, if there is a big pressure situation from a big market team, LA ain't going to give it to him. He's going to be, the fifth starter in that rotation, maybe sixth. You're going to have Clayton Kershaw coming back as well. You're going to have so many different storylines going on around that Dodgers team that, yes, you're going to have a lot of news media around you. You're going to have a lot of international media around you as well because of the three international talents on that roster. But you're going to have a support system in place unlike most other teams in Major League Baseball. Alrighty, let's see here. Mike, Dodgers are set to embrace Roki. By going to a 6-man rotation to replicate how they pitch in the Nippon League. Dodgers will also pitch in Japan in March. Yes, that is true. I would do that trade. What trade was that one? Did I miss one? I don't see it. Salutes to Jimmy Carter and condolences. Absolutely. Anthony, being that there's a large Japanese community in Seattle, why is it so hard to believe Roki would choose to go to the Dodgers? Mainly because of the trajectory of that team. They don't need pitching. They already are loaded up there. I still think, having Ichiro in the meeting is going to help their chances of bringing him in. But I still think the Dodgers are where he's going to go. There's a spot for him already there. They're a prohibitive favorite to get to the World Series and win it. And he's already familiar with the players that are on the team. Those are all things that are in favor of him going to the Dodgers, whereas other teams can't say the same. Let's see here. Nando, if the Dodgers don't get Sasaki, what's their next move, if any? They're going to bring in Clayton Kershaw, and then I think they may even open up the door to other starting pitchers, like a guy like Max Scherzer. Because, again, they're going to have Kershaw start the season on the 60-day IL. Maybe they use Scherzer and just hope they can get one of those two to pitch, and be healthy at a time and just make the best out of it. Hope springs eternal. The Dodgers are getting him. Will not listen to more. Bye. Okay. Well, I'm just telling you, the Dodgers are still the favorite. Market size matters, sure, but it's not the overriding decision maker. So we'll see. Brady, I hope you have a speedy recovery. Exactly, I hope for the same. Michael, what's your physical and pitching style comparison for Roki? If you don't agree with mine, that it's mine with Matsuzaka. I haven't seen Roki pitch too much, and he's still so young. He's still developing his pitching style. I want to see how he throws once he comes over. I think he's going to have to adapt to the different ball, and then I want to give you a comparison. I think it's still too early to give you too much of a comparison because of how young he is and how he's going to have to adapt to the Major League game, how hard he's going to throw, how much effort he's going to have, how much time off he's going to have between starts. Is he in a 5-man rotation or a 6-man rotation? How does the ball size affect the pitches that he does have? All of those are going to change how I view him, and we'll see how he goes. Welcome in, is it Rabscuttle? I'm guessing is the name. Any chance the Cubs still trade Horner? I still would say no. I think if they're looking to trade him, it'd be after, or excuse me, right at the deadline if they're out of it, or if he's going to be a part of a bigger piece coming back in return. I just think they're not in a position right now to where they can lose Horner, and his value isn't exceptionally high because of the issues that he had last year, health, etc. Roki throws 103. No former Japanese player has done that. Uh, mm, Trying to remember if somebody had though. I think Darvish hit 100. I don't know about 103. Anyway, man, I hate seeing Clayton, JV, Max hang around, ruin their Hall of Fame careers. Still Hall of Fame players, but you grasp my point. I do. I think Verlander really is cooked at this point. Scherzer, I think, is still effective. He does give up more gopher balls, though, and injuries have really clouded his production. But we saw how he pitched with the Rangers for a period of time. He was their best pitcher in the second half of the year they won the World Series. Injuries, of course, slowed him down right as the end of the season anyway when they got to September and October. But he really kept that team together. In August, he was their best pitcher. I think he's still got enough in the tank to where he can be an effective pitcher, probably 15 to 20 games max. I think he's probably going to have 5 duds in that group, though, and you're just going to have to be able to withstand it. But Scherzer still knows how to pitch, and I think he's got 1 year left in him. Kershaw is still fairly young, but he's got so many innings on that arm. You got to wonder how much he's got left in the tank. Had over a 4 ERA last year, but his FIP was actually around 3.53. Wasn't exactly horrible, but health, again, the issue there. Justin, did you see the D-backs? Do you see the D-backs trading Jordan? Montgomery, possibly. Lawler, no. Cowboys, when's the last season Clayton was himself and injury-free? 3-4 years ago, give or take. Heel, big talk from me with no onion rings. Oh, man, Padre fan. Yeah, you're not completely wrong there, Heel. Tig, Roki Sasaki will go to the Mariners, and Luis Castillo will be traded for Casas. Big bets there. Well, I mean, for the Red Sox to be bringing in Luis Castillo and giving up Casas in that deal, the reference there would be that Bregman has gone to the Red Sox. That's still a big if. The Detroit Tigers, I think, and the Red Sox are both neck and neck for his services. We'll see where he goes. But if they do get Bregman, I could very well see a Luis Castillo trade. As for Roki, I think that those two are completely separate from one another. If they bring in a starting pitcher after they trade Luis Castillo, it could be Roki Sasaki. It could be just as easily be somebody else. But I don't think one has anything to do with the other. Jeff, welcome in. Royals pickup thoughts. Taylor Ward and Brett Beatty. Also, JJ is sneaky saying they can't afford players. Then spend maybe Santander or Tanner Scott. Honestly, I don't like any of those ideas for the Royals. I like what they've done with India. I still think they're going to add around the periphery of this team, but I don't think they're going to be a bet for Santander or Scott. I think they would like to add another bat to that lineup. As far as Santander, I think it's a little bit out of their price range, even though they really stepped up their spending last year. I think they would go after, a little bit lower cost option, like a Jurickson Profar, who can still give them some speed in that lineup. Speed is going to be the name of the game, and contact rate for the Royals. I think that's the reason why they make the addition of Jonathan India, and bringing in Profar would be a better option for them the way they are going to play. As far as bullpen, they can always use bullpen. I think they're going to be able to get some decent bullpen options if they can decide to continue to add to that bullpen, besides just going after Tanner Scott. Murakami is going to be a very nice piece coming over from Japan next year as well. Keep your eyes on him, just like Mike says there. Holly, I'd be shocked if Roki doesn't go to the Dodgers. Again, I still think they're the prohibitive favorites. Do I think it's a lock? No. Would I be shocked if he didn't go to the Dodgers? No, because I still think there's a decent chance he goes elsewhere. I just think the clear favorite is the Dodgers at this point. Anthony, how about the closer that used to be at the Dodgers in the 90s and 2000s? You trying to compare him again? Not sure who you're trying to compare him to. Anyway, VPC ZX, I feel upset and genuinely hurt at the fact my Blue Jays have done nothing. I mean, I feel for you, man. I mean, the Blue Jays are just in a tough spot, and I would have gone about this free agency completely different than the way they did it. I would have done what the Mets did. I would have done what other teams did before we get to the winter meetings, and tried to bring in some smaller pieces to show some stability within that organization. Say, hey, even though we really want to bring you in, Juan Soto, we're still going to get our business done. We're going to bring in Nick Pivetta. We're going to bring in, X, Y, and Z outfielders. We're going to bring in a bullpen arm. We're going to do all these things. And they ultimately settle on a trade for Jimenez and not much else. And you can understand why Burns, even though the money was greater there with the Toronto Blue Jays, why he ultimately decided to go elsewhere. He wanted to stay home in Arizona, so that's why he primarily chose Arizona. But even if he didn't go there, I think the Giants were more likely for him as well. You look at Bregman, I think it's pretty clear he's not going to go to Toronto at this point. I'd be shocked if he does, but I would have gone about this offseason completely different than the way they went about it. So I feel for you, Blue Jays fans, but hopefully, this season doesn't last long for you. You get into a rebuild and you can start hoping for the future again. Nando, where do you see Castillo getting traded to? I would still say the Orioles. If Bregman goes to the Red Sox, then I could see that one really happening as well. But my pick is still going to be the Orioles, at least for now. But we'll see. The Cubs are also in that conversation, along with a couple of other teams. Let's see here. Didn't Ohtani hit 103 several times? I thought he got up there too, but I can't remember how hard he threw. Honestly, I'm not sure. Paranormal, what's the Yankees' most interest right now other than the bullpen? Is there any other players that you heard today? I also saw a rumor today Anthony Rizzo might go to the Marlins. I heard that one as well. I don't buy it. I think Rizzo probably goes out to the West Coast at this point or back to the Chicago Cubs on kind of a one-year deal to help improve that lineup on a low-cost contract. Cubs are still looking for an offensive upgrade. Not sure how much Rizzo has left in the tank or to offer, but I think his leadership skills would be greatly valued in that clubhouse once again. But as far as updates on the Yankees, aside from the bullpen, honestly, I haven't heard too much. I think they're still looking primarily at bullpen and infield right now, and they're taking into account both the qualifying offer, the finances of everything, how close they are to the tax, as well as what impact do they bring to their lineup. They still need an impact bat as far as I'm concerned. I just don't think they're going to get one at this point. I don't think Ohtani had, well, again, I'm not sure how hard he's thrown. Let's see here. Sorry if I miss a few of these comments here, trying to keep up with all the conversation. Paranormal, it sucks we have to live off social media now, just listen to our sports because they won't do it on TV anymore. Good thing there's channels like this. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. I got quite a few people with us right now. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe, we're very close to hitting our goal today. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, we were 11 away when we started this video, and hopefully we can cross that threshold while we are live on the air. Chapman cranking out 104 was unreal. Yes, and he still hits it, by the way. Anthony, I'm talking about the closer for the Dodgers around that period of time who threw 100 miles an hour. I mean, I remember Gagne being there. I remember, but I can't remember who the closer was, though. Let's see, Woo-Wee, sorry. Upside, what do you rank the Lakers trade not giving up any first-round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith? I like how the reports from ESPN and several other places said that it was a D'Angelo Russell trade, not a Dorian Finney-Smith trade. Again, just more slight for the guy. He's really built himself up to having a very nice career in the NBA, basically signing as a non-roster, kind of a guy, non-guaranteed contract with the Mavericks, building his career through summer league performances and getting a guaranteed deal and getting a long-term deal, the first 4-year deal. Very nice guy. Celebrated with his family when he got that 4-year guarantee. Got the trade anyway to the Nets when they tried to bring in Kyrie Irving. That was a tough pill to swallow, to lose him as a Mavericks fan. You got a really good one there with the Lakers. But to answer your question there, I like that they gave up second-round picks instead of having to include a first-rounder. Remember, just a year ago, the Nets were looking for 2 first-rounders in exchange for Dorian Finney-Smith. Obviously, nobody was going to pay that. Maybe 1 first-rounder they could have gotten back then, but to only give up 3 seconds and you get off of D'Angelo Russell's contract, gotta love it. And they still have 1 more trade chip with that they can use in Gabe Vincent to bring in another ball handler. That's their biggest hole right now on that roster for the Lakers. They need a point guard more than anything right now. Jonas Valanciunas is also a guy to keep an eye on for the Lakers as well. Alrighty, Roki hit 103 at 21. Yes, younger players are going for more velocity or more than ever before, but Roki is a special animal coming over, and we'll see how he performs at the major league level. Willard, welcome back. By the way, now that MLB teams can now forget getting Japan top talent by using their DH superstar to get deal down, talk about an unfair. There's not an unfair advantage, Willard. Let it go. My question is, did Eric Gagne throw 100 miles an hour? Yes, I believe he did. Let's see here, trying to catch up on some of these comments. Michael Kopech, Brustar Gratterall, Edgardo Henriquez, Bobby Miller from the Dodgers throw over 100. I mean, they do have some velocity. I love Michael Kopech in that bullpen, by the way. I think he's going to be a special piece for them. Paige, Pavetta is going to be a great acquisition for someone. I agree. I would say the Blue Jays are a team. The Reds are a team in there for him. Cubs could be a player. Orioles to a lesser extent. Let's see here. Nomo was a mid 95, 96 guy. I would agree there. I don't remember Nomo ever getting up that high. I remember his stuff was more different pitch grips. One of the first original guys from overseas that had a whole bunch of different pitches and really could utilize spin rates and move that ball. Nasty slider, as you mentioned. Mike, love your channel and content. Thank you, my friend. If you guys do enjoy the content, hit that like and subscribe. Goes a long way to helping us out. Thank you in advance for hitting that subscribe button, and those of you who have already done so, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. Tig, I think them bringing back Rizzo would be a great move and bring morale back to the fans' universe. I think so too. I'd rather talk MLB here versus watching MLB live, etc. Real fans tuning in here. Exactly. I do love this channel for the simple fact that I get to talk about baseball with people who value it just as much as I do. I'm just a simple guy on YouTube. I don't have any professional baseball experience. I've just been a fan who's been following it basically since I was born, essentially. I got into the granular details when I was a very young kid, looking at I still have the ESPN Almanac with all the stats in it from 1994, this thick when I was 4 or 5 years old. And I remember going through it the first time, and I still have that same almanac, and I still reference it occasionally when I want to look back at some old numbers. But just brings back good memories every time I see that one. But I appreciate all you guys enjoying this channel as much as I do. I told you guys I kind of started this channel as a way to have a sports outlet, aside from, having a long work day or whatever. I wanted to still be able to come home and talk about sports with somebody. And since I wasn't at home with the folks anymore and being able to talk to my dad about it every day, being able to talk about it with you guys and kind of help support my family a little bit with this channel was the ultimate goal. And with this, the success we've really had over the last 3 weeks has finally at least helped contribute in that regard. So I really do thank you guys for being so supportive of this channel and just being so friendly in our chat. I know every now and again we get a couple of angry conversations in there, but not very often. Most of you guys are very respectful over and over and over again to each other, and it's just a really great community we've fostered here, and just want to continue to see this grow. So if you're new here, you enjoy baseball content, you want to join us every single night as we update you guys from what happens around the league, rumors, speculation, trade possibilities, what's happening, when it's happening. If we get a big breaking news story, we immediately go live after that. We saw that with Corbin Burns. That happened, 12:25 Saturday morning, and we were live by 12:28. And we try to bring you as up-to-date information as we possibly can, as up-to-date and accurate information, I will mention as well. But thank you guys for the support. Hit that like and subscribe. Let's check out a few more of these comments here. Let's see, got quite a few in the chat right now. Gratterall can throw 103 plus. Yes, he can certainly throw it. He's got some serious velocity. I remember him back when he was a prospect with the Twins. Twins, I think, really missed the boat on that one. Maeda was supposed to be a good get for their rotation, somebody they could use in the bullpen if their younger rotation pieces actually clicked. That ultimately didn't work out so well for them. I think they'd rather have Gratterall at this point. Jeff, what YouTube baseball content providers inspire you to do this? Honestly, none of them. I don't really watch baseball YouTube content. Now, as far as podcasts, I do listen to quite a few of them. Foul Territory, I know they're a YouTube channel. Ow! Ooh, sorry. Got a little bit of a shoulder injury at the moment. Anyway, I do follow quite a few different podcasts out there and try to keep you guys updated from the national media perspective. And I do listen to several local podcasts as well. Rangers podcasts I listen to, because I'm a Rangers fan. But I also follow a couple of the Dodgers ones out there. Yankees I try to catch up on, a New York-based one that does cover the Mets as well. But there's quite a few different sources that I use. The Athletic's great for a variety of different news coverage. Even MLB.com, the articles that they write are actually very informative. MLB Trade Rumors is another one I use. And of course, I follow the majority of the big-time baseball people on Twitter to keep you guys up to date on all the latest. What team are you a fan of? Texas Rangers. Ethan, more relievers throw 100 miles an hour, but when I consider starters are less likely to throw 100, I guess is your point you're trying to make. Yes, that is true and more interesting, like you say. Player, welcome back. I thought Nomo hit the ball well. Hid the ball well. Okay. Um, he was pretty good at that as well. I remember the delivery there. I remember his arm hanging down more than anything else. How he was able to hide that delivery. He'll try not to feel old. Challenge. We are one player retiring in Altuve from the Astros' new leader being Jordan. True. Altuve's been there for quite a while. Jordan is kind of their new guy, or at least would be their new guy. I guess he's what, 28, 29 now. He feels like an older guy on that team though, just the way he carries himself. Cowboys Nation, he's an Orioles fan deep in the heart of Texas, but he'll say Texas. You're funny, Cowboys Nation. Let's see here. Player time. Bregman to Tigers still look good? I would say so. I wouldn't say there's any reason to doubt it at this point, but I'd say the Red Sox and Tigers neck and neck for him. Nando, Michael, you're a good dude. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. 94, the year of the strike. Yes, I remember that year primarily for Fred McGriff. That's the biggest reason why. Fred McGriff was a great player. I really loved watching him play at that age. Before I even really considered things like the Hall of Fame, I was too young to really understand the impact of it. And then once I finally understood what it was all about, I was like, wow, he's got to be a guy that's going to be in there, right? And now we just got him in a year ago. And I'm like, come on, man. I think with the 94 season, if he had been able to finish that year, if they didn't have the strike, he would have been in first or second ballot with the numbers he would have been able to put up that year. He would have had another World Series ring. The Braves team itself might have looked a lot differently as well with the success that they had in that era. All those divisional championships and only one World Series to show for it. I think they probably would have gotten there again there in 94 and might have won it that year as well. Mike, if the Dodgers are able to bring both Sasaki and Tanner Scott, they could easily have the best rotation and bullpen in the majors. Bullpen, I think, is still a bit of a question mark, even if they bring in Tanner Scott. But I will say it's a vastly improved one. As far as the rotation, gotta love their 1 through 4. Sasaki, a little bit of a question mark, but you gotta say every single one of those guys, if you do have Sasaki and you bring in Kershaw, any one of those guys could be an ace on anybody else's staff, and I would love their rotation. I think the best rotation currently is the Mariners. I don't think it's going to last until spring training. I think they move on from Luis Castillo. And when they do that, I think the Yankees and Mariners, Rangers and Astros are all going to vie for the best rotation on the American League side of things. On the National League side of things, I think the Padres, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers are all going to be right there. But one could argue that the best rotation in the National League, and the Phillies, I forgot to mention them, would be the LA Dodgers. I think the Phillies are very good with Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, etc. But I don't trust Jesus Luzardo. But you basically have to count on your 1 through 3 in that rotation more than anything else. Same thing with the Dodgers. I just think the 1, 2, 3 of the Dodgers is just a little bit better. So by the time they bring in Sasaki and Kershaw, I would say they would probably have a better rotation at that time. Don't expect me to respect the Yankees. I think we should all be respectful of other teams. Yes, we might hate them as far as fan bases and whatnot, but you still enjoy the game. You still want to watch interesting baseball. For instance, if the Texas Rangers during the season they're not playing on a Thursday night, and I want to watch a good baseball game, you would want to watch a good baseball game between two teams, even if it was your worst rival and some other team. You might be rooting for the other team, but you still want the game to be good. Sasaki is not going to the Dodgers. I think he's still going to go there. I think it's very likely at this point. But I wouldn't say it's a stone cold lead pipe lock. I still think there are other teams that are in the mix here, including the Padres, Giants, Mariners, Rangers, and then to some lesser degree the Cubs, Mets, and Yankees. But we'll see. One day you'll hit 100K. I hope so. I'm really hoping it happens, relatively soon. Hopefully in a couple of years, maybe a little bit less. We're just crossed the 2,000 subscriber threshold, and we've gained almost 500 subscribers now in a little under a month. So if we keep this trajectory and keep building, and you guys keep enjoying these lives, we could really have quite the fan base growing. Honestly, some of the lives that I have actually do a lot better than some of the podcasts I listen to from reputable sources out there. So just really appreciate how you guys enjoy this content, and maybe they could take a page from our book as far as how to cover the sport and interact with the fans. I think I'm the only one who tries to interact as much as I do with my chat. Very different than most of the other programs that I see out there. True, I'm one guy on a screen talking, but I enjoy this conversation that I have with you guys in the chat as well. John, what did you miss? Well, we had two deals today. One was the Washington Nationals 1 year, $6 million for Josh Bell. His last chance, in my opinion, to be able to keep his job in the majors. If he's unable to perform, he could see himself out of Major League Baseball after the season. Second move was Vidal Brujan going from the Marlins to the Cubs in exchange for Matt Mervis. Kind of a lower end trade, but it kind of shaking things up. Positional flexibility for the Cubs and some potential for the Marlins. Reef, welcome in. Any chance Montreal gets an expansion team next round? Next round, possibly, but I think Nashville's the most likely at this point. That fan base is absolutely rabid when it comes to baseball, and they are kind of in the middle of their own area right now. Now, Montreal, they've had a baseball team before. I think they could easily host another one, and I think both markets would be great for Major League Baseball, but that could probably be 3 to 5 years away, but I think both of them will get a team at some point. Who or what got you into baseball? My dad. I remember him being a Twins fan growing up very, very young, before I was even probably 4 years old. I remember listening and watching to baseball with my dad. He was a big Twins fan. He loved Kirby Puckett in that era of the Twins. That was around the early 90s. I remember the flood of 93. I was only like 3 years old at the time. If you guys want to Google the Midwest flood of 93, all the snow melting. I remember I was growing up in Watertown, South Dakota at the time, and the lake there overflowed so high that it actually flooded the entire basement, and if I remember correctly, came up a little ways to the house as well, up in the house as well. I can't remember if it actually got into the floor or not. I was so young at the time, but I remember the basement was flooded, and we were living out of the gym there, and I just remember, my dad still listening to baseball, driving back and forth to his dad's farm to 2.5 hours away to be able to, take care of that property, and just really connecting with my dad over baseball. So I think a lot of you guys have very similar stories, but that's how I first got into the sport and what really got me into it. Even fans today know who the Crime Dog is. Yeah, you're darn right. He was a great player. You should sprinkle in some NHL. Kane was plus 368 today for 2 points. Been tearing up the FD with NHL props this season. Kane's a great player, one of the greatest we've seen, and I'm assuming you're talking about Patrick Kane anyway. Let's see here. Mike, I watched the Rangers highlights for Corey Seager. He's a heavily missed in LA. I mean, I was surprised that we were able to pry him away from the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers' financial reasons are the reason why they didn't keep Corey Seager. I think they were kind of full of themselves a little bit with their ability to bring in top shortstops via trade. When you think about Manny Machado, when you think about Trey Turner, I think they thought they could continue to churn out top-end talent at shortstop, whether it be from within or via trade. And they've done well. Don't get me wrong; they haven't necessarily felt the loss as badly as some other teams might have. But Seager's been great in Texas, and I can understand why you miss him. Player time, your content will sell itself. Exactly. I try to interact with interact with you guys as much as I possibly can, and you guys seem to respond to it. So I try to foster that kind of content continuously, and encourage you guys to chat. If you guys want to support the channel, you guys are welcome to send a super chat. I know when we get over 100 viewers at any one time, it gets a little crazy in our chat. And so when you guys do send a super chat, it makes it really easy to see what the comments are and try to keep up with them. But just liking the video and subscribing helps our channel, and it goes a long way to helping us grow. So thank you guys for doing that. Paige, rivalries make the game great. I'm not a Yankees or Red Sox fan. I love to watch them battle. True. I mean, that's kind of what I grew up on in the early 2000s anyway. Was the the Red Sox versus the Yankees? Could they break the curse? Those playoff series that were great those years, where the Yankees won in 03 and the Red Sox won in 04. Some of the greatest postseason series you'll ever see. Arif, any chance Pete Alonso or Santander end up with the Blue Jays? No on Alonso, possibly on Santander. I think they're going to have competition from Houston once they move on from Ryan Presley, but I think they're going to wait on Bregman to get his deal done before Santander really has his market start churning. Take, Utah would be great for one too. They have the public funds ready. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Utah did get one. I'm kind of surprised they don't have one already, just because that area of the country, you're going to have a wide fan base to draw from. The question is, could they draw enough fans day to day to be able to be productive and maintain a fan base in the ballpark that would contribute to them being profitable for an owner? Remains to be seen. Same flooding in 93, 94 with the Shenandoah River here in northern Virginia, but been watching since 1980. Old fella, but young at heart. Yeah, that flooding was insane in the Midwest. I don't remember Virginia, but again, I was like 3 at the time. But flooding is no joke, and I remember that part being the difficult thing, is just all the memories, the things that get ruined when you have a flood. The smell especially just sticks with you for a long time. I still remember the smell, and it's, what, 30 years later? Jack, welcome in. What about Profar to the Braves? That is one name I've heard a couple of different times with the Braves, honestly. They're looking for a corner outfield bat. Profar kind of fits as a higher value piece on the market that is still affordable for the Braves. They're not going to break the bank for Santander, but Profar is kind of the upper limit of what they might do. If they bring in Profar, they might have to go a little bit cheaper in the starting pitcher, which means Flaherty is probably out. Then they probably go with Charlie Morton as the starter there as the number 5 starter. If they don't go Profar and go even cheaper, say a guy like Randall Grichuk, somebody in that category, then they could probably have the money to bring in Jack Flaherty. I don't think they have the money to do both. Page, rest in peace. Kirby Puckett, yes. Jack Morris, I remember him as well. Joe Mauer, one of my favorite Twins ever. I remember Chuck Knobloch on that team. I remember the trade anyway with the Yankees as well. Twins just always seem to have trouble with the Yankees. Rangers did as well back then as well, or back in the 90s, as well as the Twins, as everybody did. That was the team of the decade anyway. And Ricky Henderson, far too young. Yes, the comeback on Netflix was pretty good. Okay. Let's see here. Arif, do a Bichette trade to the Braves and Vladdy to Seattle or Giants. We did a Vladdy trade to the Giants as well. I don't think we'll see one to the Mariners, though. As far as Bo Bichette to the Braves, possibly. Let's go ahead and do that one, actually, just to see what a trade would look like. I think that could be a free agency addition. The money might be the issue, though, for them to be able to retain him long term. So let's just say they try to add Bo Bichette. I think they'd rather have Arcia right now because it wouldn't cost them a whole lot right now to keep him there. But let's see what a trade would look like. Blue Jays, Braves, makes it easy. Both teams right at the very top here. Major league level from the Blue Jays. Bo Bichette. His value is... Yikes. 5.3. Not a whole lot of value. Look at the money, though. $16.5 million. That's pretty much what you would expect them to spend the entire offseason on a corner outfielder or a starting pitcher or both. That means that the Blue Jays are going to have to take back some money from the Braves to make this work. So keep that in mind when we do this trade. Let's go ahead and look at negative assets for the Braves first, because again, that's usually where you find the money. Joe Jimenez, $18 million. Ouch. That might be the piece that has to go. Iglesias is still underwater as far as value. Pierce Johnson, there's $7 million right there. And it doesn't hurt their team overall too badly. Let's go ahead and put Pierce Johnson in there. He would be a good reliever for them to possibly trade at the deadline for the Blue Jays. But again, this is a trade that probably happens at the deadline. So maybe they could flip him to another team relatively quickly. Again, you're trying to include money here for the Braves. Sale, 1-year deal left. They aren't going to move him. Ozuna, Raisel Iglesias, Grant Holmes. Bummer. Let's go ahead and say they put in Bummer in this deal as well, just from a money perspective. Okay, so there's money going out now. So at least the money works now for the Braves to where this wouldn't work this wouldn't be too poorly for them. They could go out there and add some pieces in free agency around that $1 to $2 million range to replace these guys if they traded them. But let's just do that for kicks and giggles to make the money work in this deal. Now, what value would they need to put in here? Probably around an 8. Let's go ahead and do surplus again here. Looking around 8, so Perdomo might be the guy. Minors is the value we're looking for here. Let's say they go with a couple of young players here just to kind of make this deal work. Okay, so there you go. You get the 2 pieces to include there for money. You get a couple of good pieces there, young pieces there to build off of there if you're the Blue Jays, and then you turn around and trade Johnson and Bummer if you're the Blue Jays as well. There's a trade for Bo Bichette. Even if you don't include those 2 pieces there, maybe go with a cheaper option or a lower valued option in Luis, or than Luis anyway, to make this deal work. But overall, you can see how a deal would have to work for the Braves. Their financial situation is very limited there. So we'll see. Tig, Profar sounds like a perfect Braves fit. I think it's better than Bo Bichette at least. Profar's probably going to cost you $9 million over 3 years, if I had to guess. After the deal we just signed with Teoscar Hernandez, that's a reasonable number. But then you still have enough money to go out there and add another starting pitcher on a 1-year, $6 million deal. Looking at the free agent market, who could possibly be a fit for that? Michael Lorenzen could be a fit there. He could also transition to the bullpen. Looking at a guy like Lance Lynn, none of these guys are going to light up the radar gun or light up your eyes if you're a guy, if you're a Braves fan anyway. But they would at least give you some solid production out of those spots. They are hoping Grant Holmes anyway takes a hold of one of those rotation spots. So we'll see. And then of course you have Charlie Morton as well, the ageless wonder at 41. Martin Perez, maybe a 1-year, $4 million offer could get it done, and then you bring in Profar, and that's how you get your stack done. That the Braves situation financially is very similar to me with the Seattle Mariners, except the Mariners is more self-imposed, whereas the Braves are trying to do it for tax reasons, and you can understand why they're trying to save as much money as they can to stay underneath that tax. They don't have a whole lot of money to offer this offseason unless somebody else takes some of those contracts off their books. Alrighty, let's check out a few more of these comments before we head out for the night. Got about 60 of you guys with us right now. We're very close to hitting our goal when we first started this video. I'll check in on our subscriber count here in just a moment, but if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe, following us here at The Upside, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you enjoy baseball content, we'd be more than happy to keep you guys updated every single night. Every night we're going to be live around 9 o'clock during the weekdays. On days that I'm not working, I will probably have 2 lives, one in the morning and one in the evening. And if there's any breaking news, we'll bring it to you as well. Heel, I got into baseball because my mom got me a PSP and I took a trip to GameStop and saw this cool guy on the cover on the first ever MLB The Show, David Ortiz, and I got it and loved the game ever since. I think that's how a lot of young fans get into it. David Ortiz was one of my favorite players, even as a Minnesota Twin player, before he became the David Ortiz we all know from the Boston Red Sox. Ortiz had some decent things to say about the Twins, but he also had some other issues with the Twins as well. Kind of a mixed bag of comments, but he really enjoyed his time in Boston. Love that player, and he's a great ambassador for the game at this point as well. John, any news on Bregman? That's what I'm thinking we're going to get this week. I think we're going to get news on Bregman, whether he's going to sign in Boston or Detroit or some surprise team, which I do not anticipate. But I think it's really down to those two teams. Carlos Baerga, who's been right on a few of these guys over the last year or so, predicts that the Tigers are the team that's got a deal on the table to Bregman, and that it's just going to happen pretty much any time now. His guess is that it's going to happen this week. We shall see. I still think it's pretty much even money right now between the Red Sox and the Tigers. But I think both teams he'd be great. I think he's a great fit with the monster there. I think the Red Sox have a great pivot after that, trading for Luis Castillo in exchange for Tristan Casas and Yoshida, a trade that was discussed last week as well. Tells you the Red Sox are fairly confident in their ability to bring in Alex Bregman. Tigers, I think, would be a great fit as well. Again, the A.J. Hinch connection. And then what do they do with the rest of that roster? They're said to be looking for a closer. Kirby Yates is the guy they're targeting in free agency. If they don't get that done, they could go with another A.J. Hinch connection in Ryan Presley and save the Astros some money, bring in their closer, and really be set up for success in a very winnable AL Central division. Thank you for that compliment there, Paige. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight. We'll be live with you guys again around 9 o'clock tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some updates on the relief market. Hopefully we'll have some signings. We're just before the new year, so hopefully we get some activity. It's been a little bit of a slow news week, but we did get the #1 free agent off the board on the pitching side, at least, in Corbin Burnes. Let us know in the comment section what you guys want to discuss tomorrow as well. I would be happy to discuss some of y'all's trade ideas like we just did with Bo Bichette. If you have more of those ideas and just wondering thoughts on them or just getting somebody else's ideas on what could work for your team, let us know in the chat as well. We'd be happy to discuss those ideas and keep you guys updated on all the actual news that's out there as well. But we'll see you guys again tomorrow night. Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy New Year.